Hello and welcome to episode number 153 of Decentralized Revolution, podcast from the Libertarian Party Mises Caucus. With me, as always, is Nate Thurston. Nate, thanks for flying solo last week with Bonnie Freeman and Angela. How did that go?
It was great. Had a couple great guests for sure. So it was an easy one to do.
Hold on one second, guys. Okay. I'm getting a little feedback on my end. Can you introduce our guest, Nate, while I fix this on my end? I'm really sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So tonight we're hanging out while Aaron is dropping out. We're hanging out with Eric Bolling, who I've been checking out your episodes of The Edge, and I'm loving it so far. By the way, so congrats on that. Everything's been great. Having some great guests on that show. And why don't you've got a lengthy record as far as all the things you have done in your life. I'm going to really mess up your bio. So tell everyone about yourself.
Sure. And thank you for watching The Edge. I launched The Edge. It's like 40 days ago, literally 40 days ago. And it's already growing 100 times faster than any new YouTube page or the average YouTube page. Out of control. I launched The Edge because exactly what you just mentioned, Nate. I started my kind of adult life as a professional baseball player out of college. I was drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates. I got hurt very early in my, less than a full season, got hurt right away. Went back home to Chicago, ended up on Wall Street. We were dead broke. We were really, really poor in Chicago. Got in the car and just showed up in the New York Mercantile Exchange. I thought it was the stock exchange. It was commodities. I didn't know the difference. I walked on the floor. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's the most. It was at the time, this is 1985 or so, 1986, the biggest free market bastion on the planet. It was just a bunch of people yelling and screaming their own, trading my own money. No money, had to work for a while to get up enough money to lease a seat and eventually buy a seat and work my way up there and end up being on the board of directors of that place. Took them public. About 11 years into that career, I get a call from CNBC who said, we got this new show that we're starting. We'd love to get you part of it. We're doing a bunch of different people, folks from different parts of Wall Street. And I happened to be the commodity guy who was trading gold and oil at the time. Remember, I show up in New York, think I'm going to trade stocks, and I had no idea. And it ended up being in the oil exchange. And so I was trading crude oil and natural gas. So I go there and they loved it. It was so off the beaten path. They didn't know what to do because CNBC was just like a traditional Wall Street stocks, bonds, brokers. And I was just this animal that no tie. The point I'm trying to make is it was just all about the moment of going from a very dead broke. Nate and Aaron, I'm talking couldn't afford, French fries with my McDonald's burger when I was trying to find a job. And to becoming in 2006, this is probably 10 or 15 years, 12 years, 11 years later, I was named the Trader of the Year by Trader Magazine, Wall Street Trader. So I realized this is amazing. Nowhere else in the world can a kid, I had a college education, was drafted out of college, but it wasn't Yale, it wasn't Harvard, it wasn't anything Goldman Sachs would ever hire. But I was making Goldman Sachs money, and it was amazing. So I've been since that moment, I've been a very, very much staunch defender of all things free markets. And then, CNBC was doing great. And Roger Ailes over at Fox News said, come on over to Fox. I want to bring you into politics. I'll make a star. Again, being an idiot, I went over to Fox, not be idiotic to go to Fox, but I went there because I thought I was part of Fox News. And he's like, well, we're starting this business channel, Fox Business. And little I know, there were no viewers. There was no one there. And I went to Roger probably 6 months into that. I'm like, Roger, you told me I'm on this little channel. No one's watching. He said, just be calm. I told you I'll make a star. I'm going to make you a star. Glenn Beck, who amazing. I was able to sit in for Glenn Beck a few times. One day, Glenn Beck just showed up and said, I'm done. He was finished. He wanted to leave Fox. And Ailes called me into the office. He said, I'm putting a show together. He put literally a napkin. He's like, I'm putting you here, putting this guy, Bob Beckel, who was a lefty, hardcore progressive lefty.
I remember him.
Dana Perino is going to sit next to you. She's a traditional Republican, the old school establishment Republican, funny guy, Greg. And it was a competition between Kimberly Guilfoyle and Angela Tantaros for that 5th seat, and Kimberly ultimately won out. And we ran with the 5. And so I launched at CNBC. I launched Fast Money, which was the 5 o'clock show at CNBC. Roger pulled me from Fast Money. He saw that and eventually put me in the middle seat on the 5. I launched the 5 for the first 6 years. And that's where that's so the point I'm trying to make here, very long-winded, Nate, sorry, is that the 3 fires, the 3 arenas that really test an individual, a man, baseball, pro baseball field, Wall Street. I wasn't working for any bank. I was trading my own money. And then high-level television. I ended up, the 5 was the highest rated show on cable. Those 3 arenas, they're tests, and it was just the edge. This show I'm doing right now is the edge is all 3 of those. We bring people in from sports. We bring people in from Wall Street. We bring people in from celebrity. And I just talked to them about everyone gets their butt handed to them at some point. Everyone gets knocked down, smush their face in the dirt. Some people get up and other people walk away defeated. And I call that the edge. And I'm tapping into different stories of people who have faced the adversity and dusted themselves off and persevered through the trials and tribulations. Also, about 8 years ago, I lost my only child, son, to a fentanyl overdose in college. And that's another test. So I figured, why not capture, I've been through these fires, 4 real legitimate fires. I want to capture some of that, present it in a way that people know it's authentic and real. And that's where it isn't. It's just exploding off the charts. So thank you for asking. Give me a chance to talk a long-winded answer.
And thanks, Nate, for jumping in there when my intro that was planned. I had on a back browser, I had the live stream YouTube ready to go up. So I was hearing an echo of myself. So I've done that once or twice before in the past. So I'm sorry to botch that, Eric. But so tell me I want to ask about the edge and maybe some of your more interesting guests so far. But I think, I grew up, I'm about to turn 50. So I grew up in the age of, I was like a Reagan kid and then Rush Limbaugh, and then which led kind of into Fox News. And I have always been kind of fascinated by how big the cable news thing was at one time and kind of where it's at now. Tell me, like, what's something that you learned from your time in the cable news thing that something that the average person wouldn't know, or that's maybe relevant to kind of what's going on media wise today?
Sure. Aaron, I was at Fox for the heyday of cable news. I think it was literally the peak cable, so to speak. We launched the 5, is doing great. And at Fox, they throw you in different shows to see who can hold an audience if the main host was on vacation. So for whatever reason, they threw me into a Bill O'Reilly's seat, and it did well. And I ended up hosting O'Reilly 235 times. Bill was taking every Friday off, and they would call me, and I was always the guy, yeah, sure, I'll do Friday. I'll work till 9 o'clock at night on Friday. I don't care. I love this. And those were the days where Bill was getting 3.5, 4 million viewers a night. And I will tell you, there's what I keep, and I just had Bill O'Reilly on not Edge, because he doesn't fit for the Edge. By the way, is not political at all. The Edge is just about grit, perseverance, men, taking personal responsibility and making the best of it. Bill is not that guy. He was on another show I was hosting, and I said, Bill, he told me he's got 20 #1 bestsellers and that will never be matched. And I said, well, I can do something too that will never be matched. He said, what? I said, there was a day where I was supposed to fill in for you. It was whatever day of the week it was. And I got the call, we were filling for O'Reilly. I'm like, yeah, great, fine. About an hour later, they said, by the way, can you also fill in for Ducey at Fox and Friends in the morning? I'm like, geez, I got to do 3 hours in the morning. You have to get up at like 3 in the morning to do that show. 3 hours of Fox and Friends, and then an hour of Bill. I'm doing the math. I'm like, okay, 2, 4, 6, 3 hours, 2 million people in the morning. That's 6. I'm doing a Bill O'Reilly, probably 3 million at night, 4 million because it's an election cycle, late in the election cycle. And this is a true story. I did both of those, and about halfway through the O'Reilly segment, Hannity was supposed to be on location interviewing Donald Trump, who wanted to be soon to be president, before he's president. and his shot went down. They lost the satellite truck or whatever it was. They're like, you have to sit because we're not sure if we're getting Hannity or not on location. And so they didn't, and I ended up hosting Fox and Friends. But I'm going to say there will never be a day, or no one has ever hosted Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity on the same night. And I think it didn't happen. It was like 11 million viewers that night. It's literally, so my point is that was peak. And Aaron, to your point, I think right around now, 2 million is a big number for 2.5 million for Hannity and Gutfeld. So the numbers are probably 40% lower than that. And cable news loses about 8% of the total audience per year, and it really hasn't slowed down over the last 5 or 6 years. So they're on a downward trajectory, and digital's picking up all of that slack.
Yeah.
All of it.
I think that has a lot to do with like just the debate in politics in general of how, and Trump also kind of broke the mold on how, like, back in the day, if somebody said something that was kind of outside the allowable opinion, you had to like apologize and all this stuff. And it was like a choreographed thing in the news cycle. And I think that kind of distracted from actually.
Aaron, you're right. If you think about it, Glenn, who's a dear friend of mine, he ultimately left Fox, but is because at one point he was on Fox and Friends as a guest in the morning, and he called President Obama racist, right? And now it's like that's nothing, now. But the advertisers freaked out, and then I guess Ailes and Beck had a kind of a falling out over the advertisers. He said, "I'm done. I'm finished," and that's how the Five was born. So so you're right. The bifurcation of politics right now is causing tribalism on the left and on the right, and therefore the audience is just. And what's happening now? They're so afraid of lawsuits on both sides right now. Or you say something wrong, you get sued, or be called a racist, or the advertisers are going to boycott you because you said something that was deemed bigoted or whatever. And so you go to digital to hear, unfiltered opinion, and that's really what's going on. Why cable is losing. It probably will never, ever have hit its heyday again.
Yeah. That's what I was actually about to ask. Like, do you think there's going to be a big recovery for these massive cable networks? I mean, we know everyone's going digital. You can start your own YouTube channel. You can start your own podcast. And I think that's where a lot of people have gone. And not just because it's easier, but also because I think people are more trustworthy, or they see people as more trustworthy on their YouTube channels and podcasts. And do you think these big cable news channels are going to realize that and try to change, or are they done?
I think they'll never recover the kind of peak cable, because I think audiences generally are looking for truth and realism and originality. And I will tell you, if you watch, I mean, I do this because it's my life. I watch various networks, but specifically Fox, because I'm, totally, lean right. I'm libertarian, but lean right. If you watch them speak, any one of these hosts now, they measure every word out of their mouth before they say it. Like literally every word. Now, like Brett Barron at 6 o'clock is straight news, and he'll just read the teleprompter because it's written. It's been vetted by 2 or 3 producers already, and so he'll deliver it. No strike on Brett. I think he's very good at what he does. But the opinions, the Fox and Friends in the morning, the Five, any of the opinion shows, everyone's measuring the words before they deliver them, and the audience sees that. And when you go to, whoever you like, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, whomever, you don't have to do that anymore, because you're not beholden to a corporate structure anymore. And you're honest and you're truthful. And if you're not, and you're on digital, you're going to be swept aside anyway. But when you're on truthful and you deliver organic realism, people gravitate towards that.
I was thinking about the 2024 election, and I was thinking Trump was going to win, but what sealed it for me was, he goes on Rogan and talks for 3 hours, and Trump is, he's an exceptional guy in good and bad ways, and he's very different, but like he's on there, and for a time, like he's talking about like MMA, just like he's a normal guy that you that you would bump into at the bar, or like your dad's business partner who, like, why does he know a lot about MMA and he actually enjoys it, and came across as very human and very likable and spoke about all these other things. And you can't hide for 3 hours. And so some of those good things that we didn't get to see about Trump actually came through there, some of his flaws too. But the key for me was everybody knew that Kamala in no way would even consider going on Joe Rogan, because she can't be herself for 2 hours and all that. And I think you've seen that kind of with what's his face, Newsom in California, is doing the podcast circuit, and he comes across as like very weird and fake. And I think that people like the authenticity of what we're doing here.
They're old school, they're measured, they're afraid of saying something wrong. And Trump, like, love him or hate him, he didn't care. He just lets it rip, and that's the authenticity that I think. I don't think it's a fad. I think it's here to stay, and you just find people who are more and more honest. There are a lot of people in my space who, I call it masculine. It's like my whole theory is it's okay to be a man again. Like for a while, it's like, oh, you can't be too toxic masculinity. I'm like, screw that. How about we're amping up toxic masculinity? And for whatever reason, it's attractive. My audience is 97% men. I mean, my audience age range is 20. The fat spot, 60% of my audience is between 25 and 44, which is lower than 10, 15 years younger than me, because they're going after authenticity, right? So there are a lot of people who can do the same thing, and you realize, they just want to do a thing on, I don't know, CEOs or sports. You never played sports, though. You've never been a CEO. You've never been in the heat and the fire, and they never catch on. So, and I do think you're right, Aaron, that Trump kind of blazed that trail. Like whatever's happening, the slide towards authenticity away from cable into digital, Trump's realism, like I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, they'd still vote for me. Everyone's like, oh my God. And it works, right? Or John McCain, I don't like him because he was a loser. He got caught. And so they said, that's it. He's done. No, right. People were attracted to the honesty. That's the trick. That's the key.
That's the thing about him. I think no matter what, I disagree with a lot of the things that he ends up saying, but I believe him. I think he means what he's saying. I don't think he's lying to me, because I don't think he cares to lie to anyone. I think he's just going to come out there and say it. And it's so unique that even someone who can go out there and say a bunch of things that people will be like, oh, well, that's questionable for sure. They just love it because it's a real person that's talking. Yeah. We're all so used to these fake canned responses from everyone. And I think Kamala might be the last that the Democrats put up that's like that as well, unless they insanely try to put her up again in 2028, which she's still talking like that's a possibility, but well, I would say hopefully
there's a book out, Nate, right now. I think I saw an excerpt from, I don't know who wrote it, but the quote was Obama saying to Nancy Pelosi, what the hell did you just do, when you found out Nancy Pelosi endorsed Kamala Harris? So if you don't have Obama's support on the left, you're not going anywhere. So she may have eyes on the prize. I don't think she doesn't have the certainly not the inside track.
Yeah. Speaking of Trump, the differences, give us your take on, Trump came to drain the swamp in 2016, Russiagate hampered a lot of that. And then Biden. And then now, like, it's been, again, as somebody I was the weird kid who watched the ABC News with Peter Jennings every night when I was like 10 years old. So I remember all these presidents back to Reagan and all these, and I've never seen anything like this. And some things have been really great and other things not so much. So where are you on Trump these days? What's good? What's not so good?
I love, first of all, I was on the Trump train before even Sean Hannity was in 2015 when he first came down the escalator. A lot of the Mark Levin and Hannity, they were Ted Cruz guys first, and I just wanted to see someone who wasn't a politician. I wanted to see a business person, and I pushed it. And the reason why I put this is because I think he did as well as he could have done being a total outsider in his first term. Like, he was bringing people on because he had to. You have to hire something like 10,000 people if you win the presidency. New people, bring your own people, not stagnant people in the government, new people. And that's a tall order for someone who didn't really know many people in D.C. So I think he was kind of limited in that respect. I also think losing in 2020, which I believe he did legitimately, it pissed him off to the point where this is what we're getting. We're getting a guy who now knows the ropes and he's ticked off. He's not going to, waste any more time this time around. So I think he's pushing the envelope. He's being very aggressive. And that's not to say I don't like what he's doing. I like most of the things he's doing. There's an issue I have, and I've probably paid the price for it because I was very close with Trump. I used to call me into the Oval Office. I'll never forget it. One day he calls me and he wants to talk about a potential infrastructure deal in the first term. And you go in the office and he's eating French fries, McDonald's fries, a big bowl of fries, right? And he's eating fries, dipping it into a bowl of ketchup, and he's dropping the piece of the fry that he didn't eat and was touching into another bowl because he didn't want to eat that. My point was we were close. I don't think we're that close anymore because one of the things I've really pushed back on is these tariffs. I am a free marketeer through and through. Mm-hmm. I think anytime government gets involved in the free market, even if you don't like the fact that we're paying more tariffs, sending shit elsewhere, and they're paying less coming in, fix it. You fix it. You create a business environment to fix that. You don't tax, and tariff is in essence a tax. I'm anti-tax. I'm anti-tariff, and they really love it. And Trump really loves it. My concern, and I never spoke to him about this. My concern is, I'm not sure I believe it's all about getting income, tariff income, or evening the playing field. I feel like he's kind of using it more as a stick with other world leaders to get attention or to get what he wants from them. I think so many things that he's doing America first, I think, are fantastic. I just have a real hard time with the tariff issues, and I think they get very defensive because I'm out there saying it. Yeah. I say, look, I'm libertarian, guys. I want government in our markets. I don't want smaller government, the better. By doing something, and also, you know what else too? Taking a 10% ownership in Intel and in these other companies. He may do something with pharma too. I just don't want government involved in our businesses. Yeah, there are discrepancies in fair play in those, but fix them another way. Don't make government bigger doing it. That's where I am, and I think it's probably cost me with, access to Trump.
I love the argument you made there that to fix it in other ways, because my argument so far has been that we should at least get things back to neutral. Like there are reasons other countries will be cheaper for companies to buy products from. There are things we can't do anything about, or maybe they are using slave labor, something like that, where they can get cheaper labor. But there are many things the U.S. government does to make business more expensive in the U.S. through regulations and taxes,
and wage,
unions, and things like that we do to make things more expensive. So what I would say we should do is at least get to a neutral playing field where the government is not making things more expensive, and then I'm still not going to be in favor of the tariffs because I'm just like you with taxation. And then let's talk about the trade imbalance. Let's talk about what this other country is doing that is actually unfair. Let's talk about the slave labor or whatever it is that they're using. But to talk about that before we clean our own room first seems like we're not really addressing the root causes of the problem. And I try to get that across to conservatives and Republicans when I talk to them, and usually don't get the best responses back. So, I don't know.
Eric, you might like this story. I think that it talks about tariffs and overregulation and all this stuff, and cronyism too, which is a big problem. So my dad, I grew up in Dayton, Ohio. My dad worked at General Motors for more than 30 years. He retired, and then a few years later, they closed the particular plant where he finished up at in Moraine, Ohio. It was a plant they, had built pickup trucks there, different things, right, on a rail yard, in Ohio. So it's like centrally located to everybody. There's all kinds of Air Force Base and a huge airport there. great place to put a factory. The factory was empty for several years after they closed it, and it took Ohio Governor John Kasich, who is a friend and associate of Les Wexner, who is a friend and associate of who the guy who has the list. It took Kasich getting on a plane to China to cut a deal with the Chicoms with all kinds of like tax incentives to get a windshield factory called Fuyao there. And the Obamas made a documentary about it, their production company on Netflix. There's a documentary about it there. But like, why does the governor of Ohio have to get involved, fly to China, cut a deal with these gangsters to get a window factory with a prime piece of real estate that's ready to go? Well, it's because of all kinds of regulations, unions, all this stuff. And it's like, we make it so hard to do that. I mean, it's like right out of Atlas Shrugged. It's like, well, no wonder. And it's just crazy. And then tariffs is another thing on top of that, when again, the free market, respecting private property, enforcing contracts and letting businesses rise and fall on their merits could solve all that without all the extra steps.
Yeah, but there's not enough payoff from union bosses to political campaigns. Yeah. Like it or not, our politicians are bought and paid for. It's the truth. Both sides.
Yeah. What's some of the stuff that if we're sticking with tariffs and ownership and Intel, two main things we'll name that you've been disappointed in with Trump? Those are two of my biggest as well. What about some good things? I've had a hard time finding the good things because my X feed is just everything terrible that will make me really mad all the time. And I don't know, you guys, maybe either one of you could tell me about some of the good stuff, because I've done a terrible job of cataloging those things so far, but I know they're there. I just don't know them.
I think his push to keep taxes as low. I mean, I'm not sure he's as aggressive as I'd like him to be. A long time ago, before Trump came along, I was pushing, I was at Fox, so I had this big platform. So you get congressmen and senators and governors to hear you. And I made a push to it was about $2 trillion in companies domiciled in the United States who do business in China, Brazil, wherever, in other foreign countries. To bring it back, they were charging our companies 35%. They've already paid taxes on their income in their respective countries where it was made, but to bring it back, the repatriation tax is 35%. Trump came in, I pushed them. I said, Trump, just get it down, get to zero. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he got it down to 25%. Mm-hmm. That should be zero. Why would it? You bring trillions, took it one step further, Nate. I said, well, why did you cut a deal with Congress or whomever to repatriate it at zero? But let's just say, I don't know, Apple has $100 billion in a Brazilian bank account because they sold $100 billion worth of iPhones profit sitting in there. Tell them they can bring it back, but they have to spend, I don't know, 50% of it on capital investment on American soil. So in those, you can bring your money back for free, but you got to invest in a manufacturing plant or hiring American workers to do something in the United States. Everyone would do it. Every single one of them would repatriate their $2 trillion. Okay, so it becomes half of the money, but they weren't going to be able to repatriate, or even maybe call it a third of it, 35%, where it's actually, well, I can either pay that government or pay our government 35%, or I can invest in my own company that same amount of money. It won't be actual pass through to the shareholders, but we're making our company stronger and healthier by doing it. He never finished the other part of it. It's a really smart idea, and I've not heard of anyone talking about it since, and it would be something I think would really, really work for the economy and individual companies too.
Yeah. Let's talk about you and Angela McArdle, how you met her, I think maybe at the Rescue the Republic rally, and your take on, with the Mises Caucus, we're trying to appeal to libertarians who are already libertarian, but also a lot of the libertarian adjacent people. And a lot of those these days are obviously on the right. And there are a lot of people who are conservatives that I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and I'm asking a lot of our guests about this, that once Trump is gone, what is going to happen to the federation of different factions on the right is very much up in the air. And so, as a self-described libertarian, how would you advise us to reach out to who should we target? How should we reach out to them to see that those conservatives come in a more libertarian direction rather than go off in this 4 or 5 other directions that are also going to be pulling at them?
I did. I met Angela at the Rescue the Republic event in DC. It was a huge success. The Maha crowd, the Make America Healthy Again crowd is amazing. We love those folks. I think they are on the right track. I think, and not being an official member of the Libertarian Party, but just have always thought of myself as a libertarian, or maybe a conservatarian, let's call it that way, where I'm all for smaller government, social issues. Like, it doesn't matter who you sleep with or how you dress, just leave the kids out of it. And I think it's the smartest, most logical, common sense place to be. It also, I'll be honest with you, I think the Libertarian Party had lost its way for a while, right? I think it was in the right space, in the right lane, trying to capture the hearts and minds of young people who I believe I'm not sure if you guys are on board with it, but I believe smaller government, lower taxes, don't expand government, don't get involved, don't let the government get involved in the free markets. And also the social issues, really, I don't think government should be telling us social, you live your life, live your life. It's the place that I think the future is. And that for a while, I think you were on point, the Libertarian Party was on point, on message. And then it kind of got into this area of almost a little bit comical, right? It got a little almost like a Comic-Con sort of atmosphere, Lollapalooza type feel to it. I think you need to bring the party back, center it back. Here's what we are. We're really about smart things, common sense things. We're not about getting crazy and dressing funny and being kind of a little comical. Let's get, because there's an opportunity. I think the Republican Party is trying to figure itself out right now. I think the liberal side, the Democrat Party, is on its back end because they've put up really bad candidates lately, and they have policies that aren't really hitting home with younger people. So there's an opportunity right now. And believe it or not, I believe the assassination of Charlie Kirk has opened young people's eyes up to, hey, there is more than just everything they're telling me in school about liberal is great, conservative is horrible. I think young people right now is an opportunity to bring in some young people on a more serious note. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to the Libertarian Party. I've always loved policy. I just like the veering away from the seriousness that it felt it then moved to for the last couple of years, maybe 10 years or so. And now there's a real window to capture.
And that's exactly what the Mises Caucus was established to bring, that Ron Paul sensibility of, hey, again, just about everything. Thomas Massey is another guy who's just great, but Ron Paul, his message was basically what you just said, in addition to being non-interventionist on foreign policy. And
can I just tell you one more thing?
Go ahead.
Nate, or one of you guys, Nate or Aaron, you asked me what I don't like this idea of just blowing narco-terrorist boats out of the water. Foreign narco-terrorist boats out of the water. You got intel, capture them, bring them, talk to them, figure it out, jail them, do what you're going to do. But just these ideas using our military to kill, to blow up Venezuelan boats in the open water without any sort of, process. And this is where I get hardcore Trump folks hate that I say this. They hate because they think, well, no, these are narcotics. I know I lost a son to fentanyl. I understand the dangers of what these guys are doing. Absolutely. But let's make sure we don't mistakenly blow up, kill a family. And the family's not going to be riding a $50 million boat. Well, guess what? If they are, you've lost the argument forever. You know, and so this is another area that I just don't necessarily agree with.
Well, and there's also the possibility this is a pretext for regime change for some other reason, right? I mean, to get us involved, and anytime you stick your nose into a fight or pick a fight, there's a chance of, horrendous unintended consequences, which
Correct.
If you look at Afghanistan, which could have been solved in 3 months, or Iraq, which we never should have done, and look at all the $6, $8, $10 trillion or whatever since then. Nate, you were about to say something.
No, another good response for people is that that's not where the fentanyl is coming from in the first place. And I can't seem to get that across to the people I try and talk to, because I see so many people criticizing Rand Paul and Thomas Massey, people like that, being against this, and like they're defending these narco terrorists and all that. And just that they keep doing this. We're going after the fentanyl, and that's just that's not what the DEA says. That's not what the intelligence agencies say. That's just not where it's coming from. It's not that maybe it's absolute zero, but there are other places. Now, I'm not saying we should bomb those places. That's not my suggestion that I'm making. But the fact that they're using something that feels sort of like a lie in order to pull on people's emotions to get them to want to do this makes me worried about what the actual goal is in this scenario. And I don't think it really has to do with the drugs at all. I guess that's my own personal opinion, but I don't think it has to do with the drugs at all. It's something that it's very hard to fight against. Like, you shouldn't blow those people out of the water. And immediately someone will say, well, you're defending terrorists, drug dealers, you're defending terrorists. You are essentially helping people kill 100,000 Americans every single year, and you're defending those people. And so they make it something that people don't want to speak out against, because you don't want to be that person. And one of the big questions I wanted to ask you was, and it goes along with this, I'm glad you brought it up, like, how do we remind conservatives, maybe you have a way to do this, that there will not always be someone in power that they love. Someday it's going to be someone that they disagree with that's in power. And I heard Lindsey Graham saying on Face the Nation, I think I saw a clip going around of him saying, no, you don't need to go to Congress for war. That's not something that needs to happen. It was just so disgusting to me to watch him sitting there saying that. What happens when it's Biden and he's wanting to go after Russia to help Ukraine? Like, I heard a lot of people saying that. So
if Obama did it or Biden did it, it's the worst thing they ever heard of. If Trump did the same thing, it's the greatest idea. Why haven't we thought of this early? It's just what I was talking about with cable. We've become so bifurcated. It's become tribalism. It's become a football game. Our team's great, your team sucks. No matter what your policies are, just it's to the point where, well, I think the left as well. If Trump likes it, they hate it no matter what. I mean, there's some policies right now. They're trying to blame Trump for a shutdown, right? And they're blaming the loss of the funding for the ACA, for the American for the Healthcare Act that Obama put in. But it was Obama who put it in with all Democrat support, and it sunset in 2026, right? Or 2025. I'm sorry, 2025. They put it in. And now Schumer's out there saying, well, Trump is trying to hold healthcare back from people who need it. It's the politics, American politics has just become a blood sport, and for whatever reason, people are picking a side. There's no common sense middle. And I'm not suggesting there ever will be, or certainly not in the short term, there will be. I think you're just going to get bigger personalities like Trump on the right. They're going to pick someone on the left with, who's going to aspire to be just like Trump on the left. And those will be the two that fight it out the next election, and the one after that, and the one after that. So until the pendulum swings so far radical that people go, all right, enough, let's figure out some sort of middle again. But my point about Libertarian Party is, while these two sides are becoming further and further apart, eventually someone's going to say, let's meet in the middle again somewhere. And the Libertarian Party has been a legitimate raising the bar for the party with smart policy, not the satellite crap. Smart policy. You could be the one that up down the road, people may meet in that space. Which
is the whole project for the Mises Caucus, which has been to turn the Libertarian Party from like this little debating club. And, I don't know if you in high school, they had like Model UN or Boys State or whatever. For a lot of people, the Libertarian Party has kind of been that. The party, the bylaws, it's impossible to get anything done. There are these people who like being a big fish in a small pond, and we've been trying to clean them out, and we've been so close, and which is why we want to open up lanes of communication with people like you who are more on the professional side, who are small L libertarian, who see that, hey, the Republican Party has got its issues, because we're so close. And that's what our plan is, to take care of things in Grand Rapids at the convention next time, and change how the party operates and truly professionalize it and truly get it back to those Ron Paul small government. Let's stick to the message of decentralization. Like, why is California have to be the same thing as it is here in Tennessee? I moved to Tennessee because I like Tennessee. I got family roots here, but also it's more libertarian in a lot of ways. And I think it's okay that Tennessee can be more free than California, and we'll see which one wins out. So that's what we want to get, is the professional atmosphere, talk about candidates who can make deals with the other parties in the sense of not compromising on our principles, but getting a little bit here and there, like Angela was able to do to get Ross Ulbricht freed, and now Roger Ver, and hopefully Ian Freeman soon, some of the other Bitcoin prisoners, to use the leverage. But we can only use that leverage if we get more normal people who love liberty and get them in.
Elevate the platform is smart. The platform is brilliant. Actually, it's where most people, if they're really honest, not being tribalistic and team mentality, if they're really honest, most people, I would say under the age of, let's say 60, 70, whatever, the libertarian principles are perfect. They're small, keep government out. I want to pay more tax. I can figure out my own world better. I can spend my money better than they'll ever do. And there's so much bullshit that goes on with waste, fraud, and abuse, and grift and graft and shit in government. It makes sense to keep more of your own money. And then for the social issues, honestly, people can say this bothers me or that bothers me, but the reality is they just want to live their life. I mean, let me be. I don't care what your neighbor, do what you're going to do. Just don't come on my lawn. All right, just don't camp out on my lawn with your policy. It's worth the place, but I would say that I think that your policy is intact. You just need to elevate the personalities that you're putting forward.
I think we need a messenger. That's the thing. Like, people, when it comes to the left and the right, they've got someone. And I don't really like thinking about things this way, but people want to hear how you're going to help make their lives better. And as a libertarian, you're in a perfect scenario, because you can actually truthfully point out the source of many of people's problems, which is the government. And you can be up there not lying the entire time. And that's something that the other people can't do unless they're just ignorant on the issues. And so you can go up there and actually tell people how their lives would be better if we fix this and that. And that's something that we're kind of missing. And I think Mises Caucus, taking over the party and all that, should help, because right now what I see is a lot of people just don't want to be associated with the party. Like, even people who are great speakers and who get in front of big audiences, kind of, I'm not with that guy dancing in his underwear on stage. That's not me.
So the quick plug, I got the URL, takehumanaction.com up there. If you agree with that and want to bring the Libertarian Party, over the final bump and get it to the place where we can be professional about things and really get this message of decentralization and liberty out there, go to takehumanaction.com. That'll get you involved with the Mises Caucus. Eric, I know we just got a couple minutes left. I'll let you say, I've got one more question for you, and if Nate has another one, but I'll let you tell people about, what you're, circle back to the edge, who's been on, who's coming on, why should people check it out?
It's just phenomenal. 40 days, we're growing 100 times faster than the average new YouTube page, because it's all about this, what we're talking about, personal liberty. Instead of worrying about what I'm supposed to say or not supposed to say, I just tap into people's life story. Like, you're at a precipice in your life. What made you have a boxer on? He's going to be a monster professional boxer, right? And he's an influencer first, and what would it take to get yourself off the canvas first time you got knocked down and taste what the canvas tastes like? Or I had Brett Favre, who's Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's also the guy who, first of all, he's been sacked more than any quarterback in history, but he's also a guy who spent 5 years addicted to painkillers. I don't know if people realize he spent the only way he's able to get on the playing field week after week was he was doing 16 Vicodins just to get on the playing field. I was like, Brett, how do you remember? He goes, there were whole seasons I don't remember. Whole seasons. And one of them was a most valuable player season. And I said, well, what did you kick? He's like, it just got to the point where I knew I was going to lose my wife, my career, my job, and everything if I didn't. And he kicked it. But so we tap into those things. And it really is just it's an amazing show because there's so many stories. There's so many stories to tell. And people walk away with, if I come across that moment, I famously remember my senior year in college at Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida. Wanted to be a baseball player, just couldn't think of doing anything else but being a baseball player. And I'm a senior and probably not going to get drafted. Well, we happened to dedicate a brand new stadium in that year, in 1984, in Winter Park, Florida. The Major League Pittsburgh Pirates came down. Our coach was a scout there. Nate, I'll go quick, Nate. So, Nate.
No, take your time.
Yeah, we'll talk baseball for a second. You can go out.
Our coach at Rollins was a former scout for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He knew the coach at the time. The big guys came down. Dale Barrow was playing shortstop. Bobby Bonilla was playing center field. And Don Robinson was the pitcher.
Oh, the caveman.
And our whole team was nervous for weeks. We were worried the Pirates are coming. We're going to be embarrassed. But whatever. This is the point I'm talking about, the edge. There's a moment in everyone's life where you make or break. You have to dig deep and find it. And sure enough, the bottom of the second inning, they mowed down our first three guys. They were like, I'm up. And Don Robinson put a fastball right over the middle of the plate for me. I hit over the left field fence. And I'm playing third base at the time, so third base coach is talking to me. Next time up, whoever the pitcher was, a relief pitcher, I hit another one that was going over the center field fence, and we had a little small picket fence. It was Division II. Yeah. And Bobby Bonilla was playing center, and he catches the ball over the fence, which would have been a second home run. Right. Anyway, because I made a statement at that moment. That's how I got drafted. So there are moments in life, and you just got to figure out how you react to it. Now, there's 40 other guys on our team who were scared shitless and were useless. And we probably lost, 15-1 because the only solo.
Yeah. But that's those moments. Like I wasn't a great player. I was pretty good. I played in kind of the equivalent of American Legion ball and first base and relief pitcher, and was pretty good pitcher. Just fastball, forkball is all I could do. I could never throw a curveball, but still the thing that most typifies like what the excitement of what life can be is like walking from the on deck circle to the batter's box. Mm-hmm. That feeling of like pure fear and joy all at the same time of like, I'm going to either do something kind of good or I'm going to embarrass myself in front of all these people like that. I see, I work with people and long story, but I see a lot of younger people today who don't have that sense of like wanting to try to accomplish something that they're going to fail at. Like, the cliche about baseball, you can be in the Hall of Fame failing 7 out of 10 times. Right. And I'm glad sounds like your channel, The Edge, is doing that of like, hey, you gotta get out there. You got to try for things. You got to fail a lot to figure out what your niche is and to get over some of these things. So it's just YouTube, Eric Bolling, The Edge, just search there and it'll come
YouTube
up.
At Eric Bolling, The Edge. Yep. Eric Bolling, The Edge. There's a couple of Eric Bollings, a couple of Edges there, but if it's at Eric Bolling, The Edge, and it's been great.
So Chicago, what part of Chicago and which team did you root for?
In the city. I grew up in the north side of the city, so I was a Cubs fan. I used to ride the bike to Wrigley and lock my bike up and sneak into the field because I knew where the vendors used to bring the trucks to bring in the food. And I sneak right in and sit in an open seat, that was my life.
I went to grad school in Evanston at Northwestern, but I lived on Addison, like 4 blocks east of Wrigley, and I'm a big Reds fan, and so I would go to Cubs games with my Reds hat on, even if the Reds weren't playing. So
sure
who was your?
yeah.
Yeah. I got some. I'm 6'3", 275, so I didn't get too many comments.
Oh,
But, who was your favorite player growing up?
I mean, early, when really young, Ron Santo, third base.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Ryan Sandberg, who ended up being an announcer. Actually, Ryan Sandberg is a story. After baseball, Ryan Sandberg went to the the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, which is a commodity exchange in Chicago. Became a big time trader there. And I kind of always looked at him as like aspirational. Like if I can't make it in baseball, I can also go to. And ended up in New York at a commodities trading floor. So yeah, those are the guys. Ernie Banks for shortstop. Ernie Banks, and Bobby Thigpen. Remember Bobby Thigpen?
I do remember Bobby Thigpen. That 93 White Sox team was really good. And of course he was on that great Mississippi State team in like the late 80s with Jeff Brantley and Will Clark, and Palmero was on that team. It's like the greatest college baseball team ever. So, but yeah, he had 57 saves in 1993, which was like, that might've been the record at
the time. Sure. I remember the Cubs had another guy who was a massive set. The first guy ever to save 50 games in the season. We're like, what? 50 games?
Yeah. Well, hopefully one day we'll meet up and the ball game will be on TV and we can have a couple drinks and talk baseball some more. But I'm sure we'll have you back on at some point, and I'll tune in to the Edge. And also, I'm going to pick your brain off air about maybe some other people we should have on here too. But it's been a pleasure meeting you. I've seen you on TV 20 years ago, and it's nice to find out the guy on the big time cable news network is a pretty nice guy. So
thank you guys. Both of you. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Aaron. Really, really good. And you guys are in the right place. Right place, right time.
Okay. See you, Eric. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
All right, bye, guys. Thank you.